Friday, August 7th, and you're watching the Hammer Daily here on the Hammer Betting Network, presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. I'm your host today, Jay Scooper, alongside my producer for the next hour and a bit, Jaleel, working his way behind the boards. And we got a great show for you today. I cannot wait to break everything down, especially what we saw last night. We saw some NFL action for the first time in a long time. Yes, it was the Hall of Fame game, but I want to talk a lot of things that I saw because maybe we were wrong about Carson Beck. Maybe we should have been clicking him Rookie of the Year because the way that he was playing last night, and I get that it's a Hall of Fame game, maybe you want to be clicking on him right now. Maybe he starts at the game. Who knows? We'll talk about that later on in the show. But before we talk about all the NFL stuff, we got Steponaduck, a.k.a. Josh Nunn, with the action that we're coming on earlier in the show, right at 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time, to talk through some college football. And listen, we had him on last week. We talked the SEC. And I see the chatters. They're saying, Jason, you always complain about the SEC bias. You bring on this great college football mind, and you have him talking. What are you doing talking SEC? We want to go deep in the weeds. We want to go to the group of six. We want to talk about the new Pac-12. We want to talk about deep in these conferences. So you know what? That's what we're doing today. We're not looking at the main conference. I don't care about the Power Four. I don't care about the Power Four. Let's go deep in the weeds. We are talking deep in the weeds. We're covering three conferences today. Looking at the Pac-12. We're going to look at the Mountain West and the Sun Belt Conference, and I'm excited to break all that down with Duck here today. And we are going in deep. We'll be up to our waist in weeds, and I absolutely love it. And then at the end of the show, right now, in Vegas, there is a seminar going on about the ethics of touting, and I believe the Circles Off account is going to be live tweeting it, so maybe we can react to some tweets from that later on in the show, because there's sure to be fireworks there. I'm confident we're going to see some fireworks out of that. Before we get into things, though, today, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but Topps just released their expansion pack for this past season of NBA cards. And so you have the NBA rookie cards, the NBA patch cards, NBA patch autographs, and of course, everyone is chasing after the Cooper Flag patch auto, the 1 of 1. And everyone, including the Dallas Mavericks, want a piece of that pie as well. So the Dallas Mavericks put out a tweet yesterday saying they have a bounty for the Cooper Flag card. And it's kind of pitiful. The Cooper Flag bounty, I'm not going to lie, is kind of pitiful. You see the Dallas Mavericks, what they're willing to give up here. Their proposed trade is they receive the Cooper Flag 1 of 1 debut patch autograph card. You receive 2 Mavericks season tickets in the lower level for 32 years, a Cooper Flag signed game-worn rookie jersey, a post-game photo with Cooper Flag, a private photo shoot with the NBA Rookie of the Year trophy and the Larry O'Brien Championship trophy. That's kind of weird. A VIP tour of the Mavericks practice facility with the team meet and greet, private basketball experience for up to 10 guests at the American Airlines Center, and then a road trip experience to see the Mavs versus Celtics, including round-trip affair, hotel accommodations, and game tickets. This is an awful trade. If you get this, if you find the card and you accept this trade, you are an absolute moron. What are you doing here? And it's also kind of embarrassing that the Dallas Mavericks are willing to lowball this much. If you find the card, you got to hold the Mavericks hostage if they really want this. I mean, I saw somewhere on the internet that some OnlyFans girl was offering $2 million bounty for this card. We're talking about an OnlyFans girl outbidding a $5 billion organization. That's pretty insane. So I hope if you find this card, you do not accept this trade. You go chase those other multi-million dollar bounties, and you hope for the best. I will say, I'm not a big card guy, but there were a couple cards out there that I saw that I really liked. Cooper Flag Minion Refractor card. I will say, if I win the lottery, not many people would know, but there would be signs, and the Minion card would be sitting right behind me, and that would be the number one sign of me winning the lottery. All right. Let's get into today's show. Before we do that, though, quickly, want to give a shout out to our good friends over at FanDuel. Looking to get more out of today's MLB action? FanDuel has you covered. Right now, you can head to the FanDuel app and claim a profit boost to use on any bet type for today's game. That's any bet type, money line, total, home runs, player props, however you like to play. It's simple. Just tap claim now, grab your token, and apply it to your bet before you place it. Maybe you're backing your team to win. Maybe you like the over. Or maybe you're calling your shot and picking someone to go yard. Whatever you're feeling, use your boost to get more out of your bet. Head over to FanDuel.com/4 products to get started. That's FanDuel, your home for home runs. Must be 21 plus in select states. For Kansas in affiliation, Kansas Star Casino, 18 plus, and President, DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost token. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MyReset. Call 1-888-789-7777. Or visit ccpg.org/Shannon, Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-375-0050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 1-877-770-7867 in Louisiana. All right. We're going to bring on Duck in just a second here, but you know what? Let's see what we can find here in terms of bets. Zach Wheeler pitching outs under 17.5 plus 162 is a good number. If you're having this profit boost sitting on FanDuel, you don't know what to use it on, go ahead and throw it on that. That's a good number relative to the rest of the market out there, which is sitting around 145, 135 towards the under of pitching outs for Zach Wheeler. Under 17.5 pitching outs. So we're looking at Zach Wheeler plus 162 on FanDuel. All right. Let's get into today's show. Let's get into let's get deep in the weeds. Let's get deep in the weeds. Our first guest of the show, you know him on Twitter as Steponaduck from the Action Network. Duck, how's it going?
Doing well, my man. Season's closely approaching. We're just a couple of weeks away. We're still knee-deep in prep here, and it just cannot come soon enough. So we're kind of getting to the home stretch of the off-season, and I think everyone's ready for talking season to be over and for people to put the pads on and start hitting each other. I know I am.
Absolutely. It's like that little break between, like, remember when you were a kid, the end of this in December, it's like that little break before you leave school and there's a couple days before Christmas and you're just anxious waiting to see what's under the tree for you. And we got 13 weeks of college football action waiting for us under that tree. And we're not looking towards the big conferences like I mentioned earlier on the show. We're getting in the weeds here. And let's start with the most interesting conference. The Pac-12 right now has to be the most interesting conference because it's a completely new look. They've gone through a ton of change over the last 3 years. 6 new members coming in. Talk me through how that's going to affect things with this new sort of conference structure.
I think it's going to be a really competitive league. We see 5 teams from the Mountain West come over in Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno, Colorado State, and Utah State. They joined Texas State as new members. And then, of course, Washington State and Oregon State were the holdovers. Mm-hmm. But you're getting an 8-team league. I think it's going to be a unique league. It's going to create some interesting travel spots for people having to go to Texas State and for Texas State to have to travel out west. The most unique thing the conference did was they're implementing flex scheduling at the end of the season. And so all of these teams are playing a 12-game regular season, but we only know the opponents of the first 11 matchups. And that's important because we know the 4 home venues for where the flex matchups are going to take place at the end of the year. And the conference has a general idea of what those matchups may look like, but it is subject to change and likely will change. Interestingly enough, the game at the end is not a conference game, so it's not going to impact the conference standings. And it really created havoc with the books and regular season wins and how these were going to be handled. Some of these books are only factoring in the first 11 games in order to resolve these wagers. Many others, including FanDuel, are factoring in all 12 games. So it really created some opportunity for betting in the regular season win market. While many people were shying away from this league, I chose to attack it because I do think there are values in the regular season win totals based on the number and the shop that you're betting this at because of these unique house rules that we have. But the league is going to be really fun. There's great quarterback play. There's really good coaching in this league. And I think the winner of this league, if they post 10 or 11 wins, will have an opportunity to be the G6 representation in the CFP.
Yeah, and that's something that is very, very important to note here is that some books are going to grade this differently than others. Keep an eye out there, and you make sure you read the house rules, as we always preach on this show. FanDuel especially is settling this on a 12-game regular season, which they have, which is pretty helpful for us. Right when you click on a specific team's regular season, they'll tell you that. But one of those teams that you mentioned, one of those teams that you want to talk about is Boise State. Right now, they're lined at 8.5 on FanDuel. You mentioned that there's you lean towards the over on the 7.5 if the shop is using 12 games to resolve it. Is that 7.5 still out there? Are you still attacking that?
I think it's still out there.
Okay.
There's a book out there that's using 12 games to resolve. And I think when you look at Boise State, they're the most complete team in this conference this year. I like getting a fully healthy Maddox Madsen back at quarterback. He was banged up for a decent amount of the time last season. I like the 1-2 punch at running back with Sire Gaines and Dylan Riley coming back. The offensive line looks shored up. I do not think it's going to look very good for Boise State in the opener at Oregon. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football. Oregon's got one of the best defensive lines in the entire country. And also one unique item about the Ducks, Last year, their offense appeared stuck in the mud numerous times where they weren't scoring as many points. They weren't possessing the ball and accumulating first downs. Well, they had 3 receivers that were out for a decent majority of the season. All of those explosive receivers are back. So it may not look great for Boise State in the opener, but they've got 4 major play-on spots, hosting Memphis, hosting University of South Dakota. They host Utah State. They go to Western Michigan. I think this team will really get on a roll. They have really a favorable schedule against some of the top contenders in this league, drawing San Diego State and Texas State at home. And they've got that big rematch with Fresno State in the middle of the season. Fresno embarrassed Boise State on their home turf last year. But I think the schedule really sets up well for Boise State to get on a roll after the opener, which probably won't go very well. They have the least amount of personnel concerns. They have an exquisite home field advantage on the blue turf. Boise's a deserved favorite, and I think they'll put up a strong season.
All right, I like that. Strong season for Boise State, and that's reflected in the odds right now. Pac-12 conference championship winner is right now the favorite on the board is Boise State plus 156. Almost a leap ahead of the other 2 teams that are closest to them. San Diego State at plus 470, Fresno State at plus 570. One thing you mentioned there about Boise State, tough start to the season. I wonder maybe if you like Boise State to win the conference, if it might be a good idea to maybe wait till after the Oregon game, hope that there might be some overreaction in market. Maybe you get like a slightly better number and then click it then.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this game could go really ugly in Eugene, despite the history and the competitive matchups we've had between Boise State and Oregon in the past. I do not think Boise will compete very well in this matchup. So you could certainly wait. And it's a great option that we have now because a lot of the books have shown tolerance to leave these conference futures up all season. Just even 5 short years ago, we didn't have the luxury of betting into these conference futures during the season, as only maybe one shop would keep them up all year. So it's really helpful to have those conference futures up all year. Absolutely wait until after the opener. You'll get a better price.
Yeah, chances are you'll probably get a better price. And if they blow out Oregon, I mean, like we got bigger problems on our hands and bigger ways to attack futures markets there. Another team that you mentioned to me that you want to touch on today was the team that you mentioned a little bit earlier, Fresno State. Fresno State right now on FanDuel, win total sitting at 6.5, juice towards the over, minus 142. Talk me through why you like what you're looking at for Fresno State here.
Well, it's all about the culture shift with Matt Entz, who comes over from North Dakota State, and he really instilled this culture of toughness, attitude, mental toughness along the offensive line. And really the scheme offensively that was installed last year was so different from what they had run in previous seasons with Fresno State. It was more of a finesse scheme. And so you really only got a partial install. They didn't have a lot of the personnel to run the offensive system. Their quarterback, E.J. Warner, last year was not a guy who really ever got comfortable running this power run, heavy tight end personnel scheme. And I think we'll see, you get the full install, you get another year in the system with the offensive line. I like the running backs that they have coming back. Fresno State's going to be able to run the football in conference play. And I think their quarterback situation will get figured out pretty quickly with Christian Martin, who comes over from Maryland. He was in a battle last year until deep into fall camp with Malik Washington. I think he'll be just fine running the Fresno offense. The defense really set Fresno State apart. They posted numbers that they hadn't seen in the Valley since the 70s. Nick Benedetto is an exquisite defensive coordinator. He was able to take really, really weak personnel at Northern Illinois and make that defense exceptional. We saw Fresno State's defense really start to grasp the scheme last year in the second half of the season. I think their defense is going to be really good once again. The Fresno State non-conference schedule, they do have to go to USC, but after that, 3 winnable games in the non-conference. They get a ton of shots on goal in conference play with Washington State. At San Diego State will be winnable. Oregon State and Colorado State at home are certainly winnable. I think if they get one of Utah State or Texas State on the road, this team can vie to win the conference. And so I did hit this regular season win over at 5.5 way early. This has been something I've had in pocket for almost 100 days, but I still think we're good at 6.5 here. I think Fresno State is going to win a ton of football games. Last year was no fluke.
Yeah, 6.5 right now, minus 142 at FanDuel. Shop around, of course, because again, and make sure when you shop around, you're double checking the rules. Right now, the Fresno State line at FanDuel is with the 12-game regular season, as like we mentioned earlier. All the regular season win totals for the Pac-12 are on FanDuel, 12-game regular season. Correct. Just quick clarifying question here. How does the flex game work in the last week of the season? Like how exactly? Do we already know their opponent?
We don't. There's an idea. The conference has an idea, and they initially set up some extreme parameters about things that could not happen in the flex week, and that really limited uh, the potential matchups to essentially having no flexibility at all. But they kind of scaled back some of the requirements for that flex week, and so we know the four sites, we know the four teams that are going to be playing at home: Fresno, Utah State. I think Washington State will be playing at home. And then there's one other one that I can't recall offhand, but those teams will have home games. And so it's just the opponent that is TBD. I really appreciate, we've referenced FanDuel several times. I really appreciate that they were very transparent in their language on the betting menu, that it was crystal clear they were factoring in all 12 games. There were a few other books that were very clear on 11 games. There's been 3 or 4 books that have not been clear on anything. And so you really have to get it in writing and talk to their people in the trading desk about figuring out what they're going to do. I've done a lot of that work already, but you really want to know how many games there are to resolve, because some of those numbers are based on 11 games. Some are based on 12 games. It's important to know.
Yeah, it's important to know. And I just quick Google search here: Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, and Washington State. Looks like the home games for the flex scheduling spots here. And I guess obviously those teams can't play each other. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out towards the end of the year. Let's talk through the next teams you want to talk about, teams that you sort of don't like in the Pac-12, starting with Utah State. What about Utah State is making you want to fade them?
Well, I mean, I will say Bronco Mendenhall is an exceptional coach, and he did a really great job last season getting this team to overperform. The cupboards were bare. There was a talent exodus after the previous regime was let go, and it was kind of a surprising move that he went from New Mexico to Utah State, but he's really made it work. They were too reliant last year on quarterback Bryson Barnes. I felt like they were too reliant on him making plays with his legs. The havoc that was allowed by the offensive line was poor. And now you look at this year coming back, there's receiver talent that's depleted. I'm not sure their running back, Javon Jacobs, is a guy who can take on the entirety of the workload. So they do need a second tier running back to emerge. But look at the road schedule. This is so brutal. You got to go to Washington, Utah, and Boise State early, plus they host Troy out of the Sun Belt. This could just end up being a season that never really gets off the tarmac as far as getting momentum with what they're trying to do. They've got to go to Texas State, San Diego State, Oregon State. I just do not think this is going to be very easy for Utah State whatsoever. This is a team that was 2-10 straight up on the road the last couple of seasons. And last year, during their run to a bowl game, they only defeated one team with a winning record. This year, 8 of them are on the schedule. I don't think these guys are going to beat the upper echelon teams in conference or out of conference. Again, there was a book out there that was resolving on 11 games. They had a regular season win total of 5.5, so I did go under. You want to bet the under in this particular situation at a shop that's only resolving on 11 games, but then you don't have to worry about the flex game. But I do not have Utah State making a bowl game this season. I just don't think. The schedule's tougher. The travel is tougher. There's too many personnel losses. And the quarterback they brought in, McKay Hillisted, he is so unproven yet. He played a little bit at BYU in mop-up duty, but I need to see more from these guys. I don't think it's going to go very well this year.
Not the year for Utah State. Another team that you're looking to fade right now is Texas State. Texas State right now on FanDuel is lined at around 6.5 wins, slight juice towards the under there at -118. What about Texas State makes you want to be out on them?
Well, I mean, people are talking about Texas State winning the conference and representing the G6 in the playoff, and I just absolutely do not see it. They do have an exquisite quarterback talent in Brad Jackson. He might be the best quarterback in this conference. They've got some explosive receivers. But when people think about Texas State, that's what they think about as the high-flying passing offense. Well, they ran the ball on almost 60% of their offensive snaps last year. Texas State is required to be able to run the football to set up that prolific passing attack. And I don't know that they're going to be able to run the football in this league. And there's some teams in the non-conference that'll absolutely shut down this rushing attack. So I wonder if the offense looks a little bit jerky as they have to prepare for new opponents. I like G.J. Kinney. I think he's done a really good job with the program when you try to factor in what it was before he got there. But this team really never realized its full potential in the Sun Belt. They regularly were considered co-favorites or favorites to win their half of the league in the Sun Belt West. And year in and year out, the season was just filled with disappointing losses. You can go back and look last year. They got thrashed by James Madison, which might be understandable, but they had Troy on the ropes. They were up 28-7 after the first quarter and lost against Marshall, lost against Louisiana. The defense just could never procure stops. They couldn't get off the field, and they faded badly down the stretch in games where they really needed it. I don't trust the defense to get any better this year. I need to see it before I believe it. Again, people are talking about Texas State winning the conference like it's already something that they know the season results, and I just cannot trust a defense. If they couldn't do it against the Sun Belt, now they're stepping up against tougher opponents
Mm-hmm.
here. I think Texas State will be a fun watch, and I think that it's certainly a bowl team and a team that could maybe threaten 7 or 8 wins, but I don't have this team winning the league.
Yeah, maybe a bridge too far for this Texas State team here, or the ambitions or the projections that people are placing on this Texas State team a bridge too far. Let's close out this conference. Just who you? I think we know who you like to win, but like, who do you want to win this conference? Who do you like to win this conference? If you have to pick one, and then give me a surprise contender.
I think there is a clear favorite in Boise State, but I don't think that the gap is as wide as you might think. And I think Fresno State has great value on the board. Again, they draw San Diego State and Texas State at home. Boise State at home. They've got a schedule where they can play power football against San Diego State, who's got a really depleted defense. Texas State's defense can't stop the run. I think Fresno State's scheme lines up very well. I think that the early season momentum with the non-conference and then going to Washington State gives this team an opportunity to start 4-1. And that really gives the culture in the locker room some belief and momentum in what the staff is doing. Their defense is going to continue to improve. Again, Benedetto, what he did the last 6 weeks with this Fresno State defense, it looked night and day different than when they opened the season at Kansas. And so I think you'll see this team get momentum early in the season, play some good football. There's a couple games they're going to have to try and win that are going to be tough, but I do think Fresno State has a chance to compete for the conference title.
Yep, Fresno State to compete for the conference title, live dogs, but maybe not against USC. Maybe wait a little bit till after they get destroyed by USC if you like them. A little USC bias for me. Let's flip over and talk Mountain West. Goes hand in hand with this Pac-12 conference because the influx of teams from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, we saw an exodus of teams from the Mountain West. Obviously, Boise, Colorado State, Fresno, Utah State, San Diego State, NIU, UTEP, and North Dakota enter into the fold. How does that sort of change things when looking at this league?
I mean, it's a notch down. You see Northern Illinois and UTEP, who are really programs that are way down right now that come in. North Dakota State comes in from the FCS level. They're going to be poised to transition to FBS much better than their counterpart, Sacramento State. But there's a lot of the top teams that were in the Mountain West that are departing. I think UNLV benefits from that. They are not going to have to face Boise State in the conference championship again. And so I think you'll see some of these teams, the runway kind of clears for them to make a run. I think the talent level in the Mountain West is down a notch. You've got some teams at the bottom that are really, really bad. San Jose State is in a tough spot. UTEP is a team that just cannot retain talent, even though they recruit it. They just can't retain it. And some of these teams just absolutely cannot win on the road. And then you look at the travel spots for Northern Illinois, it's going to be really tough for that team to really get on a roll. So I think you look at the bottom, which is really bad. But there's some teams at the top that are actually really good and that have really overperformed. UNLV is a rock solid program, and I think the quarterback can translate pretty well with Jackson Arnold. New Mexico has some real staying power with their defensive toughness if they can figure out their quarterback situation. And a team I really like is Air Force. I think Air Force doesn't really earn the benefit of the doubt based on how the last 2 seasons have gone. But it's a team now that gets their quarterback healthy. They're really identified in their offensive system that they want to run. Some of these new opponents that they face have not had any familiarity with defending the flexbone triple option scheme. And the thing about Air Force is their defense, they had injuries and they had some young guys that they played in the secondary last year that got torched all season. Well, now those guys are another year older, and their defensive coordinator that they brought in was at Air Force, left, and has now come back. I think we'll see a little bit of tinkering with the defense to make those guys a little bit more formidable up front. The schedule for Air Force is one where I really think that they can win a lot of games. I wouldn't be stunned at all if Air Force is pushing 8 or 9 wins. They have a great schedule draw, getting North Dakota State early in the season before their team has a chance to acclimate to the rigors of FBS. Hosting UNLV is critical. They get some of the easier they play my weakest Mountain West schedule with San Jose State and UTEP at home. They get this kind of weird non-conference portion in the middle where they play UConn, who's going to be down. I think they can beat Army. I think they can win the Commander-in-Chief trophy. So the offense is going to continue to be potent. I think the defense is a little bit better, and some of those close losses from last year I think will flip to wins. So Air Force is absolutely a buy-on team for me this year.
All right, let's look at the conference championship right now. UNLV, North Dakota State, and New Mexico are like among the top three. They sort of separated themselves from everyone else. There's sort of a 3-horse race, it seems like, in terms of the odds outright at the beginning of the season here. UNLV, North Dakota State, New Mexico, all around 310 to plus 350. If you choose one team to eliminate from that group, who would it be and why?
I love New Mexico, but I just think that the expectations have perhaps gotten a little bit out of whack. 2 years ago, their regular season win total was 1.5. Last year, it was 4.5. I think Jason Eck is an excellent coach. He's probably not a guy who's going to be at New Mexico overly long. But you look at some of the things that are going on with New Mexico this season. They lose their top 3 receivers. They lose their top 3 running backs. Their quarterback, Jack Lane, is still hurt. They just made mention of that at Mountain West Media Days where he's still not throwing. And so now you've got a 3-man quarterback battle with Lane, Luke Moga, who comes in from Oregon, and then last year's backup is still also in the mix as well. So his name's James Labastine. I don't like that they're unsettled at the quarterback position. I think that the offense really struggled at times last year, and they were really carried by their defense. We'll see if they're going to be able to maintain that. New Mexico's defense in 2024 was just a terrible havoc defense. Last year, they tripled their havoc numbers with 36 sacks and 77 tackles for loss. I don't know necessarily that they're going to be equipped to maintain that level of defensive havoc. I think New Mexico is a team that will have a chance, but I would eliminate them over some of the others.
All right, we're eliminating New Mexico over the other 2 teams there in terms of the guys at the top. UNLV plus 310, North Dakota State plus 330, New Mexico plus 350 here. Talk about some teams that you are fading in this conference, some teams that you think you already mentioned there's some bad teams at the bottom of the conference. But outside of those teams, let's talk about some teams that could fall below their regular season win total.
Well, I think North Dakota State's was a win too high, and that actually was released earlier in the summer at 9.5. When you're talking about North Dakota State, for 15 years, they've had dominance at the FCS level. They were so much better than their counterparts. They would always regularly play up very well against an FBS opponent when those situations occurred. And then they had a real big game in conference against South Dakota State in the Dakota Marker game. But outside of that, the way they prepared, the way that they were able to give their second and third team players reps, it was so easy on the first string, and it avoided wear and tear on the body. They got accustomed to so many different travel spots. Well, all that goes out the window now because they're not going to be so much better. And I really think we see that in the week 0 opener. I think they'll be in a dogfight against Jacksonville State. But you talk about now a team that's going to have to prepare for unique schemes, unique travel. They've got 4 conference road games that are just absolutely brutal. They've got to go to Air Force, UNLV, New Mexico, and Hawaii. I don't know that they win any of those games, to be honest with you. So I think North Dakota State is a team, again, that's going to show much better this year at FBS. I thought maybe 7 or 8 wins should have been the number for them. I think they'll make a bowl game, but there's just way too much toughness on this schedule, and there's too many unknowns for a team that had so much FCS dominance. They are down a little bit in the trenches. They don't have a proven quarterback. They lose 2 explosive game-breaking receivers from last season, and they really don't have another couple of guys in the receiver room that are going to be able to do that. So I think North Dakota State is a team where expectations are too high. The other one is Hawaii, and that might surprise some people, but when you look at Hawaii last season, they posted some of the best defensive numbers in 10 years on the island, and they lose productivity at all 3 levels of the defense. I'm not positive that I can trust Micah Alejado to stay healthy for an entire season, and the backup depth at quarterback behind him is very, very weak. Hawaii lost 3 explosive receivers last year, and now coming out of reports out of fall camp, Pofele Ashlock is hurt and not participating in fall camp. So you lose another weapon there. You lose some productivity in special teams. The Tokyo Toe, their elite kicker who could regularly snipe field goals from 55 yards, no longer there. So that changes the way that you call games in-game situations in the heat of the moment. Timmy Chang almost lost the fan base after 3 straight losing seasons to open up the tenure. And I don't want to think that the direction of this program is immediately changed just because of a winning season last year. They play 1 less home game. They don't play an FCS opponent. Hawaii has to go to 2 Power 4 road teams. I think it's a step back this year for Hawaii, so I did play under 7.5.
All right, step back first. Hawaii under 7.5. You mentioned teams that you're fading. Give me some teams that could maybe not win the conference, but exceed their win total.
I mean, I like Nevada. I think Nevada is a team that they don't have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of NIL money, but they have recruited a little bit of a portal churn coming into this season. They've got two capable options now at quarterback in Carter Jones and Luke Duncan, who comes over from UCLA. Last year, halfway through the season, they didn't have any. And this team really wasn't playing for much last year, and they really played hard for Jeff Choate. I think the schedule is conducive for Nevada to win some games early. I think they're live in the opener hosting Western Kentucky. I think they can beat Middle Tennessee State on the road. They've got UTEP, San Jose State on the schedule, Northern Illinois. Those are all teams way, way at the bottom. They host Hawaii late in the season in a game that could be absolutely butt cold. I think that's an advantage for them there. I wouldn't be stunned if Nevada was a team that wins a couple close games early, starts to really believe in what's happening there. And win total's 4.5. That's low. I wouldn't be stunned if they eclipse that. And then the last one is Wyoming. I think when you look at Wyoming, their defense has shown up for years. I really like Todd Harris getting a bulk of the carries. Wyoming is implementing a little bit of a new offensive system where they're going to run some air raid. They brought in an offensive coordinator from the Buffalo Bills who previously worked at William & Mary. We might get a little bit more tempo. We still should see some tight ends. I think we're going to run 12 and 13 personnel with Wyoming, but I think that's another team that can get on a roll very, very quickly. If you look at Wyoming's schedule with Colorado State, Northern Colorado, Central Michigan, all those are winnable. They host Hawaii. They go to San Jose State. They host Northern Illinois. I mean, this team could have 5 wins before the snow starts falling. And then when they get those home games in the cold weather in Laramie at elevation, it just becomes really difficult for their opponents. So Wyoming's win total is 5.5. I would go over. I think the Pokes make a bowl game this year.
All right, looking to them make a bowl game this year. Wyoming over 5.5 wins, and Nevada over 4.5 wins. There, 124 and 108 respectively on FanDuel. Let's flip over to the last conference here, Sun Belt. I know I got to get you out soon. I apologize for going a little long here. Talk me through the contenders of this conference. Give me a pro and con for each one.
Well, I mean, I think when you look at the top contenders, James Madison, Old Dominion, even Troy have all come back down to the pack a little bit. James Madison is going to be a talented team, but it's going to take some time for Billy Napier to get the system implemented and get everything kind of the way that he wants it within the locker room. They lost a lot of talent to JMU, and I think if you just assume that they're going to run it back based on who they have as the head coach and the talent in the locker room, I'm not so sure. I think we'll get a real good insight on James Madison immediately when they host Liberty in a game. I think the books are begging for James Madison money, laying less than a touchdown. Liberty's been terrible for a couple of years now, and I think that one just seems really easy, but I think it's insightful as to where the oddsmen believe James Madison is at, which is, again, a notch below. They've got to go to San Diego State. They've got to go to Old Dominion very early in the season in a major Sun Belt East contest. And those are just real spots that they have to prove it right away. So if you like James Madison futures, I mean, the games to watch are the back-to-backs at Old Dominion and hosting Marshall. I just think it's a team that the expectations are maybe too high for a first-year coach. Just they're maybe kind of living on what they did over the last couple of years. I think they're a notch below. Old Dominion, I think, is a strong team with good culture with Ricky Ronnie, but they lose their exquisite quarterback talent in Colton Joseph. And you'll find out this year for Wisconsin, that guy can play football. And I'm just not sure if Heinickel is going to be able to replicate the passing success, their quarterback coming in. He's a strong runner, but I'm not really sure if they'll be able to pass the ball as well as what they were able to last season with the explosive offense. So could be down a notch there. I think Marshall is a surprise contender. I think when you look at Tony Gibson and the job he did last year, after Charles Huff left Marshall, there was a mass exodus of talent depletion from their roster. Everybody left and went to Southern Miss or other places. And that team was projected to be atrocious. And the fact that Gibson had them playing hard, they got to 5 wins, probably should have won 7 games, if I'm being honest with you. But once they figured out the quarterback situation with Carlos Del Rio Wilson, Marshall really started clicking. I think the schedule is favorable for Marshall to win a bunch of games this year. And I think, hey, if they go 1-1 in the 2 games against Sun Belt East competition, Old Dominion and James Madison, they'll have a chance to potentially win some tiebreakers. I think that I think that Marshall will be strong. Last team I'll mention in the Sun Belt, Louisiana. They play my easiest Sun Belt schedule this season, and that's really important because you've got a bigger league. They still adhere to divisions, so your draw from the other division is really important. Their draw was Georgia State and Coastal Carolina, the two projected worst teams out of the Sun Belt East. I think Louisiana will correct some of their in-game situational coaching snafus that cost them games last year. You get Lunch Winfield, another year of development in the system. And they've got a schedule that is very conducive to racking up the wins. I wouldn't be stunned at all if Louisiana Lafayette is playing for the conference title.
All right, Louisiana might be going all the way here. Louisiana to win the conference right now is plus 820. For them to make the conference around plus 400. Win total is at 7.5 minus 114 towards the over. Marshall plus 980 to win the conference, minus 108. Over 7.5 wins minus 108 on FanDuel. Let's skip forward and let's just get towards, because I know you got to get out of here. Just talk me through some week one games that are involving these teams that we've touched on, these conferences. Any week one games that you're looking at here, because you gave us one, I believe, last week, and it's moved quite a bit here. Talk me through some week one teams or week one games you're looking at.
Again, I don't hate Nevada catching a field goal at home against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is a team that I think, there's consistent coordinator turnover. The revolving door of talent that coming and going is one thing. I think Tyson Helton is a good coach, but they consistently underperform in Conference USA. I think it's a team that probably should have won 3 or 4 conference titles at this point. I don't know that he's won any. And it's just a situation where the run defense was poor last year. I don't think these guys are going to be tough stopping the run this year. I'm not sold on Tisdale as a quarterback being able to throw the ball all around the yard like Maverick MacGyver was able to last year, and Bailey Zappi and others before that. This is a tough situation for Western Kentucky because they go there and then they go to Indiana and Georgia back-to-back. They've got 3 road games to open up the season. I think Western Kentucky is a team that kind of takes it on the chin early before coming on late. I would play Nevada at home catching a field goal in the opener. I would fade Coastal Carolina, and this is one that I've had in pocket for a decent amount of time here, but there was a big portal churn to the downward for Coastal Carolina. They're bringing in Ryan Beard, who had a good season at Missouri State, helping them transition from FCS to FBS. But Coastal Carolina was atrocious last season. They found lightning in a bottle with Samari Collier. He's not coming back. I don't think they're settled at quarterback. I don't think they fixed the defensive deficiencies, being able to stop the run. How many rushing yards and points is West Virginia going to put up at home against these guys in the second year for Rich Rodriguez in that system, getting some of the guys that can run his offensive scheme? Cam Cook is back. I think they've got a quarterback in Hawkins that fits perfectly for Rich Rodriguez's system. I would absolutely lay the number with West Virginia at home, even though it's exceeded 21.5. I think we're still good.
Yeah, 21.5, 110 there. Nevada plus 3.5, minus 122. Any other games you want to shout out? I know you're keeping an eye on that Central Michigan game, maybe waiting to see if there's going to be, if we can catch 2 touchdowns there for Central Michigan. Anything
maybe
there?
Yeah, Central Michigan with Matt Drinkall, it's akin to Fresno State and what they're doing with the power run system. And we saw Drinkall do a little bit of that last year, but the offensive line wasn't quite where they needed it to be. They're going to use a fullback this year. We're going to see Central Michigan is going to be one of the only teams in the entire country that's going to run 22 personnel, which is 2 backs, 2 tight ends. It's power football. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I think New Mexico takes just a hair of a step back with their run defense this season. There are some personnel things to work out in the front 7. The linebacker group is very strong, but maybe the defensive line isn't as tough. We saw Central Michigan do this last year where they went out west. They outpossessed San Jose State. They kept the game very low scoring. They use every second of the play clock. Now they've got the running quarterback back, Angel Flores. They're really settled on him to command the offense. Vaughn Blue is a guy who's going to get a lot of touches at running back. We see 14.5. I'll be in on the chips, and we'll see if they can fire up. I think that'll be a closer game than people think.
All right, we'll wait to see if we can get that Central Michigan number 2 tick there to 14.5. Duck, appreciate you joining the show. Before you head out, apologies for keeping you here for so long. Question in the chat: just anyone you think, any player you can shout out who you think might have a big impact this year for their team. Just a notable player who will sort of have their coming up party this year. Any players that come to mind?
Just any player on any team?
Any player on any team. It can be in these conferences that we talked about. Just a dude. Like everyone loves guys naming dudes. The best segment in all of sports. Just give me a name that you think might not be on somebody's radar, but might have like an explosive year.
Well, Jaden Denegal from San Diego State, that offense is going to be so much more electric. We look at San Diego State last season. Denegal was hurt in the opener against Stony Brook. We think of Sean Lewis. We think of his time at Kent State and the flash fast offense. He did a great coaching job of game managing games to the strength of his team, which was defense last year. Denegal was hurt for a good majority of the season, but he's back and fully healthy. They've got 2 or 3 explosive receivers. San Diego State is going to score a ton of points this season. And while I don't think they're going to win the league, whatever you're looking for here as far as a guy who's going to put up a ton of stats and who's going to be a fun watch on TV and who's going to will his team to some wins, Denegal is going to have a huge season for San Diego State.
All right, I appreciate the shout out. Sorry for putting you on the spot there, Duck. You can go check his workout on Twitter at Steponaduck. Go check out his work at the Action Network as well.
Hey, and also, sorry to interrupt.
Go for it, please.
Next Friday, they can check me out with our friends Joey K and BP on Hit the Books.
Incredible. Wait, any teaser as to what you guys are going to be covering there?
Well, that's a real chat-driven show, which I appreciate. So anyone in the chat can ask whatever they want, and we'll get to it ad hoc. I think we're covering some regular season wins. We'll talk some conference futures, maybe some week 0 action.
All right, I appreciate you. Hey, listen, you're doing my job for me here, promoting other shows on the network. Make sure you go check out Hit the Books. Also, check out Duck on Twitter at Steponaduck. Josh, Duck, appreciate you joining the show. We'll chat soon.
See you again soon. Thanks.
Great stuff there, as always, from the Duck. He really is an absolute freaking weapon. This guy is a weapon. Don't say great stuff, me. Duck just took that away. What an absolute stud there. What an absolute stud. Make sure you go follow him. Link is in the chat right now. Go follow him on Twitter. Tons of stuff we covered there. I don't know if I can recap everything that we talked about there, but you're going to have to rewind and check that out. Doing my job for me, promoting Hit the Books. We also got a Hit the Books show today, I believe. I don't know. There's some mentions in the chat right now that Kanish wants to skip this week. Like, is that a surprise? Probably not. We'll let you know if the show does not end up happening, but it seems like it's going to happen right now. Show today at 5 p.m. Eastern time. They're going to be talking through the Big 12 Conference, unless Joey Kanish is lazy, which is pretty likely, and wants to skip out on the show. Do us a favor, smash the like button. Goes a long way. If you're new to the channel as well, hit that subscribe button. Who was watching the Hall of Fame game last night? Because Bryce Young might be in a little bit of trouble. Haynes King, this guy might be a dog. And I'm not saying he's going to be a great quarterback in the NFL, but like at the very least, having rushing upside in the NFL just makes you that much of a better quarterback. Like the talent-wise, if you were to stand in the pocket, Bryce Young's probably better than him. But Haynes King can move. He can shimmy, shake, and he can wiggle. And I think that's really, really effective. And I think teams really do value that. Now, is it going to come late season? Panthers aren't doing so hot. Maybe we'll see Haynes King play a couple games here. I don't know, but he looked good relative to what was on the field. You know who else looked good? And I think the QB battle is already put to damn rest. Make Carson Beck the week 1 starter. What the heck are we doing here? What are the Cardinals even playing for this year? You are doing yourself a disservice if you don't start Carson Beck as your quarterback out the gate. He looked great. He looked incredible. I don't care what he was playing against Plumbers. I don't care about any of that stuff. This offense doesn't I think there's a really tough stigma around the Arizona Cardinals. They're not anywhere near the bottom of the league in terms of offensive line. They're like more middle pack than they are bottom of the league in terms of their offensive line. Their weapons are very good. You could argue they have first of all, they have one of the best tight ends in the league. Marvin Harrison Jr. could have a coming out party this year. They have good weapons. Jeremiah Love, the running backs are good. Like, this team has weapons, and Carson Beck could be the final piece to put it all together. We know who Jacoby Brissett is. We know who Gardner Minshew is. And I think we made a big mistake not clicking that Carson Beck 25-1 yesterday, 30-1 earlier in the offseason, 35-1 earlier in the offseason, because I don't know if you're going to get that. I don't know if you're going to get that opportunity this year. We talked about it. Maybe he's not going to start the first couple games. He'll come in late October, November. But that might not be the case. He might be starting out the damn gate. We know what Jacoby Brissett is. We know what Gardner Minshew is. We don't know what Carson Beck could be. And Carson Beck could be the answer and help the Arizona Cardinals be, not the worst team in the league. Joseph Myers in the chat saying, if Beck starts week 1, he won't last 3 full years in the league. He'll get PTSD from running for his life. Maybe. Or maybe the Arizona Cardinals are just a sneaky make playoff contender. One thing for certain, they are one of the teams most likely to finish with the worst record in the NFL. I don't like that at all. And I'd also say, if there's a team I'm looking at for that, it's got to be the Atlanta Falcons. That team has some big question marks around them. So we'll see what happens there. All right. Before we head out, I'm being made aware that we have some live tweeting going on for the Ethics of Touting panel over at Bet Bash between Fezzik and Ferris. If we can bring this up on screen here, there's a great little thread put together by our friends over at the Circles Off HQ account. Go follow them on Twitter. And I think I'm just going to go through and read this stuff live to see what's been happening here, because I think I've been looking forward to this. Fezzik, of course, look at you wearing a very nice suit. No tie, though. No tie. Hair looks good. Gel in the morning. Maybe you got that from GRP. It looks like the moderator if we scroll down, moderator will be Ricky Gold of Juice Reel. It starts off by saying, I believe in CLV. I only need to see about 20 bets to see if someone is a winner from Fezzik. Okay, very interesting stuff here. There's a question, is selling sports picks a scam? Fezzik says, I'm 97% on the always. Kind of odd coming from someone who is a pick seller, but at least is honest there. Ferris and Calvin and Hobo said, I'm a millimeter away from always. They bring up Hitman, saying he might be the sharpest guy, Fezzik brings up Hitman, saying Hitman might be the sharpest guy, but he buys 5 sports services. Ferris rebuttal, saying Hitman is buying packages because he wants information, not to win. People buying off you, Fez, are buying to win. I think that's a great point from Ferris there, because first of all, Fezzik is just obviously going to be incredibly disingenuous with all of this stuff, especially when talking about Hitman, because Fezzik basically takes other people's homework and pawns it off as his own. And I don't think the people who are buying Fezzik's packages and Fezzik's picks know that. Anyways, Fezzik continues to say half the people are scammers, 47% are attempting to win, but they're not good. They're not doing it well enough. The 47% of people are still scammers from Calvin. And I think we know you can make your own assumption where I believe Fezzik falls in that 50, 47, 3% range. Calvin also followed up by saying, when I was selling picks, even though I was winning, my customers were not winning because the line was moving. They were getting limited, etc. Fezzik saying he's been betting at some big shops on these releases and they haven't limited me. Like, this guy, I'm sorry, this guy is so disingenuous. Obviously these market-making books are not going to be limiting you betting these releases. Like, obviously not. And like, also, you betting this stuff is different than your customers betting this stuff, because if you really are good at what you do and you're willing to sell your information to other people, your line should be moving, and these big books will respect your action, move the line, and your customers are going to be betting this stuff at other books that will limit you because the line's already moved, and maybe they find a stale book, they hit it. Probably not, though, because a lot of these customers don't even care about the number. They just click, like Calvin said earlier. There's a question posed on screen, and I'm going to open up this picture here. If you have an edge, why don't you bet it and make infinite money? It's the age-old question. Sell the pick or bet it yourself. If the picks are so good, why sell them? Person has good info, arrow down, money needs to get wagered. You can do 2 ways with it. One, you can bet it yourself. Effort, but that would take, obviously, effort towards accounts, trust, and risk tolerance. Or you could sell the picks. It's a very interesting little flowchart here. Next thing we got here is I disagree with the scamming thing. Is Dr. Bob scamming people? What more can you ask of a guy who gives -110 or better 1 star? From Fezzik. He's doing everything in his power, but you have to live with yourself if you know your customers won't get the line most of the time. And I think that's a big part of this issue. I know why Fezzik refuses to believe this. Well, at least I think I know why Fezzik refuses to believe it. He's gaslighting himself into thinking that his customers are just betting the same stuff that he bets. So we'll see what he has to say with regards to that. Ferris also says So you don't feel bad at all that your customers aren't getting the same line? Fezzik says no. What a nail in the coffin for himself. If Fezzik, I really hope anyone who buys his picks packages sees that. I really hope that. Ferris rebuttals by saying your customer are idiots and you know that they're idiots, which is, again, great title for this panel, the ethics on touting. Fez is continuing to argue that if he tells people not to bet stuff and he educates, he is doing what he can and doesn't care what people do from there. He is not responsible for them betting bad lines. One thing I will say to that, it's very odd that the guy who sells picks tries to say that he is educating people, but then there is a pretty big YouTube channel out there that's goal is to educate people. It might be this Twitter account right here, and he continues to shit on that account. I think that's a little interesting. But anyways, Fez continues to say, when I'm giving out 700 picks, there's going to be times when I slip up. Every pick I give out, I believe, is at 3+ books. That is also not true. That is not true. I was at Bet Bash last year. He gave out a Matthew Stafford, I think it was like 3,600 passing yards. He gave it out towards the under, and it was only available at one book, and you had to physically bet it in Las Vegas. So again, I don't think he's doing his due diligence. He is absolutely doing a disservice here. All right. Joseph Myers in the chat saying, if you have to brag about yourself and talk about how great you are, then you're not great. You're just a narcissist. Absolutely. You nailed this. What else did Joseph say? All these people just tell stories about how great they were and show for their pick packages, annoy the fool out of me. I appreciate the no swearing there in the chat. Anyways, let's continue here. Fez mentions if Calvin gives out -6.5 and it goes to -15, -120. He's saying with prediction markets, you might be able to lay at posts and still get -113, but that's completely out of what we're talking about here. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Like if you can still get it at 113, the original price that was given out at -110 is now gone. And again, this is I feel like, I don't know if Fez is doing this on purpose, just being purposely obtuse because he knows that as long as he continues to do this, he'll never get caught in himself. But if he's ever intellectually honest with anyone when it comes to this discussion, he'll get caught. So maybe that's why he's being purposefully obtuse here. Calvin explains that he turned off his page because he struggled with the fact that a lot of his customers were idiots and they would take bad lines after his play moves. Fez says, I handicap the handicappers, which is a psychotic thing to say. Fez touts his expertise in curating other people's picks to give out to his customers. I will say, Fez gets like a PhD in marketing. I don't even know if he can do that, but like his ability to spin cycle and spin zone this stuff, saying he can curate other people's picks. You're not curating, you're stealing from other people. What the hell are you talking about? I'm sorry. You're not even stealing from people who are paid services. You've stolen from free shows before. You've went and watched people's YouTube videos, watched them give out picks, and then proceeded to give out said picks at a worse number, and people are paying you for that. You know how insane that is? It's psychotic. Anyways, allegedly. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it might be. All right. Ferris next comes on and says, when you're giving your clients a pick you took from somebody else, wouldn't you say, hey, go watch the show? Great point, Ferris. Absolutely great point, Ferris. Hammer it home. Fez says, I try to give attribution, but I don't always do it, which is not true because I rarely see him give attribution. But anyways, Fez continues to explain, if Brad Powers gives out a good college football play, he'll give it to his clients. I'm a top-down handicapper. I'm a down handicapper, but in certain sorts. I don't even know what that means, but maybe it's referring to his down 100 units last year. Could that be why he is a down handicapper? Calvin is a good kid. If you haven't checked out his interview, go check out his Circles Off interview. It was really good stuff there. Joseph Myers also saying curate equals stealing their picks and claiming it as your own. Exactly, Joseph. Exactly. It's crazy. Listen, that's like somebody saying that they curated Bo Jackson isn't as good as everyone thinks he is. No, they're just stealing that take from me. It's obvious. Anyways, let's continue on with this. Calvin saying you'll get more out of your accounts by giving it to someone in this room rather than following a tout. And I think that's a very interesting point. I don't recommend anybody do that. I also don't recommend people following a tout. Fez is arguing that it's a lot easier to sell picks rather than working with partners because of the risk of trusting people / getting stuff, which is such an interesting thing for Fez to say. Fez is not willing to take the risk on himself, so instead he's passing that risk along to paying customers, which is, I get it, But this is also the problem. Like, this is why we're talking about the ethics of touting. I don't know how Fez can see that that is not right. That's what's really frustrating for me. Paraphrasing tweet here. Paraphrasing Fezzik. Buyer beware. The person who is winning in the best bets. Buyer beware. The person who is winning in the bets they're making. If every bet is against the square ball book, you'll win tailing their picks. You're not grading against numbers that are widely available. I'm not going to tell you the best tout to follow. You have to find someone that is undiscovered. Interesting. Not really sure what that means. Anyways, when to buy picks. Look for proof, not personality, long tracked history, full transparency, verified odds and timing, timely delivery. Now they're starting to argue over free Discord, which is 90% of the plays they give out are live. Fez said people in the Discord shouldn't say a bad word about it. Fez said, ask someone in the crowd who was in it what they thought of it. They said it's very difficult to get the live plays in. The percentage of plays you can get in is minimal. It's live college basketball. It's moving quickly, which is pretty insane thing to do, betting live. If you pay me to, Calvin saying, if you pay me to fix your car and I make it worse, is that my fault or is that your fault? It's a very interesting comparison there from Calvin. Fezzik is using Zilbert as an example of a handicapper. This is a great tweet here. We have officially jumped the shark, folks. Fez says Zilba will buy up to 9 on MLB total, but he won't explain that the jump is worth 21%, for example. Ferris asking, why are you talking about Zilbo? Ferris says, why do you sell picks? Fez says, because I can make money doing it. And you know what else you can make money doing if you're a really good sports bettor? Betting on sports. And I think that's the nail in the coffin here. I'm curious if we can see more. Maybe we'll be able to get Jacob to jump on post show to give us, or post conference, whatever it's called, post seminar to give a reaction. We got Colt in the chat messaging me right now. He says, let me in. I have a bet for us. I'll send him the link. We can maybe get him on audio only here so we can protect his face. Let's give me a second here, Colt. We'll get you the link for this and we'll get you into the show. There we go. Colt just sent you the link in the chat. I'm curious to hear your reactions in the chat as well. Fez is a down capper. Yeah, like if you look at his last year, depends on what it is. Depends on the time frame, but last year he was down quite a bit. Joseph Myers saying, I'll watch most of VSiN stuff, but those segments with Fezzik and Crack telling stories and bragging are entirely skippable for me. Absolutely. There's nothing there that's really useful information. Colt is saying he wants to go on call. Okay, fine. We'll call you, Colt. If that's the case, we'll call you. This guy is something else. If the audio's not good, we're gonna hang up on him. And this is what we'll do on the Friday show. Calling Colt right now. We'll get him here in just a second. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Because there were some interesting things there from the Circles Off account. All right, Colt. Can you hear us?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We're good to hear. We can hear that? All right. Rudy in the chat saying he's a shyster and nothing else. Any opinion here, Colt, with the Fezzik stuff?
Honestly, I haven't been following along. I've just been driving for the past little bit.
Okay, all good.
Which is why I asked for a call.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do have a bet. It is an extreme long shot. I will add as an aside. It's likely not a winner, but I believe it's mispriced. Obviously, with these long shots, you only have to hit one to make it worthwhile. But we're looking at the offensive futures market in the NFL.
Okay.
Regrettably, I bet this at a little worse price elsewhere, but at FanDuel, Parker Washington is 400-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. I think he should be 80 to 100-1 to win that award. Now, obviously not a massive change in percentage points, but if you look at the players that he's surrounded by at 400-1, it's ridiculous, obviously. Like OBJ is there, a few backup running backs are there. I think Jacoby Brissett is listed there. He's going to lose the job after a few weeks. he shouldn't be 400 to 1 to win that award. He's been having a fantastic camp. Obviously, we love the Jaguars offense. We've talked about that quite a bit on the show. I'm high on Parker Washington in fantasy as well. I think, like, relative to BTJ and Hunter and Myers, I think he's going to be the most productive receiver there. And last year he did have 800 yards and 5 touchdowns in limited action, limited snaps. I think he'll be the focal point of the offense this year, at least one of them. And I think that, listen, is he going to win? Most likely not. But should he be 400 to 1 when, like, Ladd McConkey is 100 to 1? I just don't see a big difference in their roles this year. And I think Washington might be a little bit more talented than McConkey as well. What do you think of that, Jim?
I think you're a crazy man, but I absolutely love it. Listen, I have BTJ on my dynasty team, so I'm a little biased here, but I will say BTJ at 175 to 1, Jacoby Myers at 225 to 1, Travis Hunter at 300 to 1. And then Parker Washington all the way at the bottom at 400 to 1. This is if you strip the names from these guys, it would not look, they would not be distributed like this.
Yes, at minimum he has to be around BTJ pricing at absolute minimum. And, like, I would price him ahead of BTJ. There's no way Myers is more likely to win than BW. No way Hunter is more likely to win. It is relatively inefficient and obviously low maxes, but even for casual bettors, you throw $5-10 on this, you have something to sweat on for the year, and we'll see where we end up. Obviously, like I said, likely not going to win, but should it be 400 to 1? No way. It's mispriced.
Absolutely. And I'm not really sure if you can cash these out at FanDuel, but if you think that, like, you know, there might be some ways to play this where you might not win but can still end up making some money on this. Never really suggesting cashing out, but if you have a smaller bankroll, this might be a good way to build your bankroll of, like, placing a futures bet that you know that might not win but might come. The number might come down as the season goes on, and they might give you the option to cash out, and that's a good way to build out your bankroll. Equal, you're the absolute man. Appreciate you coming on the show. Love the Parker Washington. George saying you are an absolute machine with the Parker Washington shout out.
You know what? Jaguars offense, baby. Let's go. Let's have a great year. Let's get to the bowl and let's cash everything. But we'll see. You know, I think, like, even in the playoffs last year against the Bills, like, he had a massive game. And last year during the playoffs, I did bet on, like, most receiving yards in the playoffs, most touchdowns in the playoffs, and he had a massive first game. If they won that one, like I've talked about before, don't want to beat a dead horse. But I think he's a great player, and I think that, again, this should be priced 80 to 100 to 1. No reason why it should be 400 to 1 when you look at the players that he's priced the same as OBJ.
Yeah, that's insane.
On,
yeah, that's insane.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, good luck, everyone.
Equal, appreciate you. Drive safe. We'll chat soon.
Take care. Thanks, Jake.
Great stuff there from Ecolt. Oh my goodness, what an absolute weapon. Another name, a couple other names we'll throw out there that is around Parker Washington. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt at 40 to 1. Malik Willis at 40 to 1. Cooper Kupp at 40 to 1. Quentin Johnson. Oh, no, he's 35 to 1. Sorry. 350 to 1. Sorry. Jordan Mason, 400 to 1. Tyler Algier, James Conner, 400. Like, this is insane. This is insane. I absolutely love that shout from Ecolt there. Great stuff. Great stuff. Let's see if we got any other updates from this little thread. Seems like we do. Is it going long? So a couple questions here. As an educator, which do you feel is more harmful? Touts or affiliate companies that target young bettors? Ferris said it's touts. Touts are going to educate them in the wrong way. Calvin said there is information that can be taught to people, but we have to remember that they can do that for free. Fez said financial advisors could do it for free. Doctors could do it for... Like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? There's literally free stuff online for this. What are you talking about? It's already out there for free. You're just choosing to steal it, paywall it. It's insane. Ferris brought up an example of a play that is only available at one specific sportsbook. Fez says going forward, he's going to make sure it's available at 3+ spots. He said I was wrong and I'm incorrect to do that. I am willing to bet that he will not be doing this, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Ferris says you say one thing and then do another. There you go. Thank you, Ferris. Fez said I provide an example of one player where you did exactly what you said you wouldn't. I provided an example of one play where you did exactly what you said you wouldn't do. Not really sure what Fez is referring to there. Are they still going at this? Is this still happening? Might be another 10 to 15 minutes. All right, I think this is where we pack it up. It's absolute fireworks. Continue to follow along on the Twitter thread there. Maybe we can drop the Twitter thread in the chat. If you're watching after the fact on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, apologies that you're not going to be able to read this tweet thread. Just head over to Circles. Is Jacob available right now?
In 5 minutes, he said.
It's all right. We'll just close it out here. Just because it's going to take too long to get him on. And all right, that's it. Make sure you check out this Twitter thread, though, at the Circles Off HQ for more information regarding this Fezzik versus Ferris little debate here. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Smash the like button. Goes a long way here on the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Again, if you're listening on audio form, rate and review 5 stars. Ooh, it's Friday. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Shout out to E-Colt for coming on. Shout out to Duck. Shout out to Jaleel and Mike for keeping everything smooth behind the boards. And shout out to you guys in the chat. Joseph, Chosen, George, TQ. We got some E-Colt as well. We got great nuggets from Josh Nunn, aka Steponaduck. And we got some little baby 400 to 1 bet from E-Colt. Appreciate you guys tuning in the show. That's it. That wraps up today's show. This has been the Friday, August 7th edition of the Hammer Daily here on the Hammer Betting Network, presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. We'll see you guys right here next week.